For the first time in United States history, a first-term president is facing an impeachment inquiry. I spoke about that historical fact and many of the details related to this ongoing story with political consultant Tony Signoli, who works predominantly with Democrats, and conservative commentator and WHYN radio host Jim Polito.
Last week, I was in D.C. I had the privilege of being in D.C. when this news broke, and I was surrounded by conservatives. Ann Coulter, Michelle Malkin. I was there for an event, and there was elation among these conservatives. I know that this is the Democrats doing it all over again. Now, we can get into the weeds on this again, but I do have a feeling, and it's not wishful thinking, that this is not going to end the way that Democrats want it to end.
And when you say doing it all over again, you mean that Republicans and conservatives who are gathered there, we're talking about this is Mueller.
It is, and that there's going to be a massive letdown at the end of it, and that there's many people who got on the Mueller ride, went along, thought something was going to come at the end, and were very disappointed. And the Mueller investigation did stymie this president and this administration quite a bit. And this impeachment will do the same, but I don't think it's going to gather what the Democrats wanted to gather. That's why I think the conservatives were very happy.
Tony, you were back and forth from D.C. over the weekend. What did you observe? Elation from Jim's folks.
Yeah. Well, I think timing is everything. Around the time that Jim experienced that, caught that scene, saw that going on, that was the case. That's what you're getting from that crew. But bear in mind, too, that these are the folks that are also going to spin this for the Republican side, for the Trump side. But then I start talking to a lot of the other consultants that are out there, many who are representing Republicans in the Senate and the House up for re-election this next time around. They're a little more worried about this. It's difficult to defend a lot of the rest that's come out since then. There's a ton of talking points here, whether it's alligators and moats and flesh impaling metal and all that kind of stuff. You can't write this. You can't make this stuff up. On the flip side, what's a little bit different this time, maybe than Mueller, is that those Democrats, those committee chairs, have got a lot on the line. They're all running for re-election in the House. They can't afford, you're right, they cannot afford to make a mistake here. It could mean races for some of them. It could mean losing in races that are already being challenged. And lastly, they're doing this a little bit differently than before. They are more in control of this. This is not waiting for Mueller to come in and deliver the news. They're in control. And as we're aware of right now, there will more than likely be subpoenas on Friday. And that gives them a second article, perhaps, to write of impeachment here. And that's the one, that's the heavy one. That's the one that could be damning and could also do something else for them. It's an inquiry. That's what this thing is. But it allows them to dig into a lot of things. Who knows what else comes up?
And just for the folks at home, we're talking here on Wednesday afternoon, later in the afternoon. So some things may have shifted even by the time we're watching this at 7 o'clock tonight. But Tony, you just mentioned the subpoenas that came out, and the House Intelligence Oversight and Foreign Affairs Committees issued that letter that you referenced, the subpoena that was in. And something that Chairman Cummings said that I'd like to read is, quote, "The White House's flagrant disregard of multiple voluntary requests for documents, combined with the stark and urgent warnings from the Inspector General about the gravity of these allegations, have left us with no choice but to issue this subpoena." So did you see that coming?
Kind of had an idea of it in advance. Again, probably smart consulting going on behind the scenes, others advising them to go in that direction. Because if they don't do that, they have to rely on the courts, and that draws us out. And it makes me think of something that Jim has said in the past that I agree with him very strongly on. The appetite of the American public for any of this kind of stuff, their eyes glaze over. I think that's a word that I use, but you're right. How much can they take of this? So the Democrats know they've got to do this fast. This is shock and awe Democratic style from the Congress. Get it done quickly. Don't rely on the courts to get these documents. Go in this other direction.
And we've seen Secretary Pompeo come out and say, to the quick nature that Democrats are moving under, Secretary Pompeo is calling this bullying. Jim, how do you read it?
Well, here's what I see with exactly what they're doing, is that if they don't get something concrete, something simple for people to understand, think back to the Nixon-Watergate investigation. I mean, think back to the Clinton impeachment. It was, okay, he committed perjury. This is so muddy that the average person in the middle, not the wonk like us, the average person in the middle isn't seeing it. Well, he did what? What exactly? Give me A plus B equals C. And I don't think the average person, the folks who decide this election, can comprehend what's going on. Tony and I can do it. You can do it. People on both sides, the 20% on both sides can do it. The 60% in the middle, I don't think they can do it. And unless the Democrats get something concrete, here it is, I don't think there's any reason to send it to the Senate. And then they lose again, because if it does get to the Senate, we know it doesn't happen.
Because the math is just not
The
there.
math
The
is not
two-thirds
there.
vote that the Senate would need to
Agreed.
come forward with a guilty verdict just isn't there. But to that point, do Democrats need to zoom out here and give an elevator pitch, a one-line narrative for what exactly the president has done wrong in their eyes?
They do, relative to the articles, relative to impeachment itself, and then they need to do what they're also doing, which is on multiple forms of media out there with talking points, saying, here's what this is, and breaking it down to make it simpler to the average regular person. The dialogue along the lines of, he asked a foreign leader for help with one of his political opponents. Other piece of that where it gets stickier and maybe becomes wonky for folks is, wait a second, Congress appropriated those dollars to protect Ukraine against Russia. Russia has invaded Crimea. They're there. It's an invading force. It gets heavier and whatnot, but you start to go in those directions. Different groups of players start to pick up on that and say, what's that about? One thing that we find on Russia is that older Republicans and more conservative Republicans, Bush era, Reagan era.
Right.
There's talking points, there's words that are push buttons. We're seeing the Democrats do that a little better than they did during
The
Mueller.
smoking gun being
Exactly,
one of those
yeah.
phrases.
What else is here? And inferring what else may be here. Your perception,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, the cover-up blew up in their faces because the word cover-up was used by Adam Schiff, and then Trump released the transcripts of the phone call. So how do you have a cover-up if it's here? Here's the transcript. I think the Democrats overplayed the hand. I was surprised at Nancy Pelosi that she did mention impeachment that early, before the whistleblower's report was even analyzed. She said, let's go, we're going to impeachment. And I think that was the very radical wing pushing her along. I don't think she wanted to do it, because today I found Nancy Pelosi in the press conference today asking the press, why don't you ask us questions about what we're doing about prescription drugs and about these other issues? She asked the press to ask her those questions, not questions about impeachment. That says to me that the Republican message of the Democrats don't want to get anything done, they're fixated on the 2016 election, they can't stand that this guy is president, they're going to do anything to defeat him. The argument that the Republicans are making is, we've got all these other issues we want to address, and Democrats aren't doing it because all the oxygen is being sucked up by this.
But maybe even taking a page from the president's playbook, because there was a press conference last week where the president said a question on the economy when there was too much about this impeachment, trying to pivot the narrative. But Jim, question for you. Republican Chuck Grassley came out last night, who's usually, walking step in step with the president, and said, you know what, the whistleblower needs to be heard from. Do you think we're going to see more Republicans falling in line following what Grassley said?
Oh, I think they'll agree with Grassley. I think Grassley is well respected, and I respect Grassley for saying that, for coming out and saying, hey, we've got a whistleblower here, fine, let's bring it forward. That doesn't mean that the whistleblower should be protected from any scrutiny. I certainly wouldn't want anything to happen to the whistleblower and this talk of the person's life has been threatened. I would say that, yes, hear from the whistleblower, but the whistleblower isn't gospel. That's their interpretation. And whether or not it's a third-hand interpretation or a first-hand interpretation, I support Grassley for saying that. I think it was a reasonable thing to do. I think it makes Republicans look good.
Absolutely. Good move in that regard,
Yeah.
politically, yeah.
Tony, we've heard the president over the weekend even, he tweeted about the prospect of the impeachment if it's successful, paraphrasing someone else, being a civil war-like fracture here in the country. And he said other things. He's called this inquiry an expletive. And think back to President Obama, whether it was the tan suit or being caught in public chewing Nicorette when he was trying to kick cigarettes, being called unpresidential. Are we seeing a different level of scrutiny here compared to the previous administration and President Trump?
I think at this point you are, without a doubt, and some of that are the folks that would like to see the president gone. I think it's a different level of scrutiny because actually he's kind of invited it. The day after you get a pass on the Mueller piece, the day after you can say, all the things you did on Twitter, if you're the president of the United States, no coercion, I'm done, I'm in the clear. It's the day after that this conversation happened. I think he loves living on the edge, this guy. He's always been that way, and maybe that's part of the game. But there's just so much distraction right now that I think that what's starting to happen is that there are probably some smart folks in the Senate, Republicans and others, when we're starting to think, let's be careful how this moves forward. Because what else is going on right now? These subpoenas. You get scared, even if you're the Secretary of State.
Right.
Wait a minute, I got a subpoena for what? And I didn't know that my undersecretary said this or that. And then there's the other wild card, and that's Rudy Giuliani. God bless him for everything he did during 9/11. I loved him at that time. But I would be terrified if my fate or jail time or anything or my job or my career or my legacy right now were based on Rudy. And, of course, these are the kinds of things that will come up with people. It's not just so much Trump being fired on. Rudy's an easy target for a lot of folks. And even to that point, what is his actual role in government to have been involved in something like this? You're the president's lawyer. What are you doing? Strange stuff. There's enough there to throw all over the place.
And what I'll go back to is what Tony, everything that you said was fantastic, was great. The problem is, to the average American, that turns into mud.
What is it?
Show me legally, show me which law he broke. I mean, we've had all of this talk, but tell me what he did wrong. The president, under treaties that were signed in 97 and 99 with both Ukraine and also with Australia, has to ask for help in criminal investigations. If there's a criminal investigation involved with Biden, and by the way, we didn't even mention Joe Biden yet.
You're right.
This is the worst thing that Joe Biden could ever ask for, and a picture surfacing of him playing golf with this Ukrainian gas company. This is the worst thing that could have happened to Joe Biden. If I'm Elizabeth Warren today, I'm smiling. Yeah, not because she bumped into me on the airplane on the way to D.C. She's smiling because, she's smiling because this is killing Joe Biden, really hurt it. And by the way, at the same time, poor Bernie is getting stents put in, which for anyone is nothing. But when you're running for president, it's a big deal.
And you're 78 years old.
It's a big deal.